Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Here we have Devin, not on Yorion and taxes, but actually Aluren. That is a deceptive Sky Noodle. Threw me for a little bit of a swerve. It's actually going to be Aluren. And of course, the ETB ability of Yorion complements all of the ETBs in the deck. Talking about Ice Fang Kodal, Baleful Strix, Recruiter of the Guard. So many cards in the deck. Enter the battlefield and do something. Plan A is casting them for free with Aluren, but if the game does become a real slog, you have this over-the-top trump card where you can get Yorion into your hand and then cast him and trigger a ton of value. So that's why Aluren is trying out this 80-card configuration. I'm not positive if it's optimal or not. That's actually tough to say. Cephalid Breakfast also has had some success online with Yorion builds, sharing a little bit more DNA with Death and Taxes than my current build. I previously ran cards like Mother of Runes, and I have just moved past those at this stage. So much of the comboing happens at instant speed. Your opponent really doesn't have a ton of ways of interacting. Cards like Prismatic Ending are very, very strong, but unfortunately can't be used on your opponent's turn, so kind of forces your opponent to have a very specific subset of cards, and then you do potentially have Cabal Therapy strip those cards from their hand. Got a step through for the Cephalid. Step through. Wizard Cycling card. A great new addition. Blue instant speed Demonic Tutor for the most part. Being able to pitch to force is very strong. And while Devin is tapped out, got to throw a Force of Will at this Cephalid. That gets brushed aside by Daze. So that's a wrap. We're going to be able to mill through the entire library, hitting Narcomoebas, eventually Dread Return, Thassa's Oracle. Be recording these. Actually ran through them all with the mic unplugged, unfortunately. Like the card graphics don't quite sync up perfectly, but they'll be up there for those of you unfamiliar with the cards. It may just take a few more moments cards to get updated. Display. Daze a card everyone will be familiar with after playing Legacy even a short while. Such a powerful card. But gets really bad as the game goes on. Gets sideboarded out a lot of the time when you're on the draw. Card is not without its drawbacks, but is nonetheless one of the absolute best counterspells in the game. I would say the second best. I would go Force of Will, Daze. After that, probably Force of Negation. Kind of open though. Spell Pierce and Flusterstorm are also very strong. Mystical Dispute is a very interesting card. You got to consider cards like Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast. Let me know in the comments your top 5 counter spells. I actually think they should unban Mana Drain. I don't even think it would be close to a top 5. Might not even be a top 10 counter spell. Counting Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast as separate cards, which they are. Now, Aether Vial, unchecked, very dangerous, ends up making uncounterable threats. Is super dangerous in a combo deck, as this is not just value, this is just straight up winning the game. Aether Vial puts in the proper cards, and you're sitting there with counter magic. It's very disheartening. Of course, Force of Willing and Aether Vial put you in a really tough spot. If they have the combo in hand already, Force of Will, the Aether Vial, then you don't have that Force of Will for the combo pieces. So, kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Brainstorm plus Fetch Land, responded to with an Ice Fang Kodal. Scott, our UPS guy, great guy. Dropping off a package. Not even sure what it is. Part of the fun of running a game store. shooting from the hip is sometimes you just get packages showing up and you're not even sure what they are. You don't remember what you ordered. Kind of like Christmas. Green Sun Zenith. Now this can find Scavenging Ooze, Collector Oof, that too. Really nothing that we're worried about here. Of course, shutting down Aether Vial could be a little bit of a disappointment, but slows things down by a turn. And when you're at 19, facing down just 4 damage on board, it's really not overwhelming. Goes 17. Like a 5-turn clock. Probably don't need to worry about the aggro plan here. There it is, Paradigm Shift. Blowout City. Now, if it was Scavenging Ooze, I suppose you wouldn't have felt any better about it, as it would not have mattered here. Affecting the graveyard can be quite good, but very often it's actually useless. If you get the Thassa's Oracle in hand, you don't need the Dread Return plan. Now, Devin threatening the win of his own with Aluren. And actually, not really. That's kind of hilarious. So he's got the Recruiter of the Guard. I could have just let that Aluren resolve, as it allows me to just cast my Thassa's Oracle. Yeah, I actually don't think I should have forced a willed that Aluren. I think you just let it resolve and just, if he tries to cast Recruiter, play the Thassa's Oracle to try and win, and then he has to have something to stop it, and you've got force for that. He only had 2 cards in hand, so yikes, I got to watch out for that. That was a slightly suboptimal line. Had force, and didn't seem like it was possible to lose. Made a suboptimal play, won anyways, but that could bite me in the future. That is interesting.